let's go.
Yeah, so it's July now, and we're in Tokyo, and it's like in the 90s outside right now.
Translation
or in
of
the
that
30s.
would be in the 30s, the low 30s actually.
It depends on where you're watching from. The temperature is different depending on like where the person is sitting right now.
If you're from Yorkshire, it is like definitely you're gonna die if you go outside. Essentially,
it's pretty warm outside. But the video that this is about, the Glasgow video, was the Beast from the East.
Yeah.
And that was this huge storm, of course, that had come and buried the city. And I think some people will watch that and think, oh, it's a bummer that happened. But it came, like, it's maybe hard to follow exact timelines on exactly what had been going on with us, but we had just been on Isle of Man, and we had been filming and going out and doing stuff quite a lot.
Yeah.
So when we got to Glasgow and they were like, oh, a big snowstorm is coming, and I was like, oh, there's going to be a couple days where we're just going to be stuck, like, in the apartment. I was like, oh, this is going to be wonderful.
That's how we kind of live our life. I remember, so today, actually this week, we had a typhoon or a tropical storm. I don't know how big it was, but...
well, I mean, up here it didn't hit us that bad, but right now in Kyushu and stuff, it's bad.
The weather forecast for Tokyo had said that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were going to be rain. And we both were just like, oh, thank goodness it's going to be rain. We won't go and do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it removes the obligation, the feeling of obligation to go out, and it forces you to take a second and just like be like, take a breather. And I think that's kind of what I felt like, because we were like quite busy on Isle of Man. Like, it wasn't constantly every day, but every day we went out and did stuff, and it was cold and it was windy, and it really just, it was good, but it was just intense. So once we got to Glasgow and we saw the apartment that we were staying in, that Airbnb, and it was like unbelievably nice. And it was
setting standards.
It was really cozy. Yeah, it was like, I think still the best place we've ever stayed, Airbnb.
It has a contender with where we stayed in Zadar.
Oh, yeah. There were a couple places in Croatia that were quite nice. But
better internet in Zadar, but more like how we would probably have our place.
Yeah, set up. And that's what it was. It just kind of nailed down how we would have decorated in a sense. Not everything,
but this cozy feeling that's kind of just relaxed.
He did an amazing job making it feel like you were at home.
Yeah.
But we saw this, and then we saw that there was a storm coming, and we were like, oh, this is not going to be so bad. But I don't think I anticipated it to be 5 days of the city shut down.
No.
It wasn't bad, but I was kind of like, oh, 3 would be real nice.
There was not really any food around where we were staying.
That was the only problem with the Airbnb, is the location wasn't that great. And I think we ordered takeout sometimes, and you were like, well, let's make them bring the food to us. I was like, you're a criminal. What is this?
Well, I mean, hold on. We only have access to buses that are running
they weren't running for a few days.
Yeah, they weren't running, and even then they came back, and they were only certain lines, and the train was completely shut down. Mofos who be doing deliveries, they got cars.
That's true.
And granted, I don't think that the roads are super duper safe, but these people are traveling the roads on a regular basis and have a good understanding of the roads. They've got better knowledge. Let's just leave it to the professionals. I don't understand.
The deliveries took like a couple of hours, but it was alright.
We ordered it, and we expected it to be there in 45 minutes. It came in almost 2 hours.
But I mean, Beast from the East, man.
And then I got to eat Polish food, so that was
fun.
fun.
Yeah, they had a Polish delivery place.
It was totally worth it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It was totally worth it.
So I mean, that's the storm and stuff is really what our time in Glasgow was. Like, once, because we were there for like 2 weeks, once things melted and things got a little more under control, of course we went out and we did a bunch of stuff, and that's all like in the video and everything. But when I think about it now, I just think about like the storm.
The Beast from the East.
Yeah, the Beast from the East. And something that wasn't covered that we did do is some friends of ours from Japan had recently, like 6 months before that,
maybe even longer, like going back.
They had moved. Yeah, he's Scottish. He's from Glasgow, and his wife is Japanese, and they have a daughter. And they had lived here for, I don't know, 10 years or more.
Yeah, long time.
And they moved back recently and opened a food truck. And this is like my other strong memory is that they didn't know they had no idea we were there. So we just dropped in on their food truck and we were like, what up?
Talk, we're kind of peripheral on their life. Like,
Yeah, we're not super good friends or anything, but we're in their social circle.
We worked together for 1 year, at least for me. You worked together, we probably had an equivalent amount of interaction.
Yeah.
Because you worked farther away from him, but I kind of worked a bit directly on the same level.
Yeah.
And so we had some exposure, did some fun things together. They moved away, and there's no way in hell
he would have expected to see our faces.
He would have thought that we were going to just roll up at his food truck on a Saturday at a random place in Glasgow. But what's cool is, like, we could be really sneaky and find out where he was because he's posting on the internet. My food truck's going to be here.
Like, okay, we'll
come
find
and
him.
eat some food. So we had access to this little bit of information that we can come and surprise you.
Yeah.
So we got to do that, and that was just stunning. He was blown away. Said he was seeing ghosts and stuff. And that was really cool. A very striking event for Glasgow. So a big snowstorm, and we were ghosts.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And
Polish
then
food.
I guess stuff that would have been covered in the video that really sticks out to me still as well is I think we were fortunate to see Glasgow in the snow. And I don't think that many people get that opportunity because it doesn't snow like that very often there. So like when we got to go to the necropolis and stuff, and we got to walk around on this snowy hill with all these graves and everything, I think we got to see it in a way that not very many people get to experience it.
Agreed.
And I think that a necropolis covered in snow, I think that you're just really like leveling up how the atmosphere of a necropolis is best enjoyed, or I don't know if enjoyed is the right word to use about like a cemetery, but you know what I mean, like best experienced, you know. And then you add snow, and it just raises that level of cemeteryness to an extra level. And it's like this hill, and then this dirty looking creepy cathedral or whatever, like in the distance, and you can see the whole city and stuff. And I really think that was really like a big perk to having been there during that time. Something I didn't mention to you, I just showed Katie. I just showed her that little clip of at the end of the video, the girls that were stuck on the wall. Somebody in the comments told me they were just trying to rob you. Their boyfriend was around the corner and stuff, and I was just like, "What are you talking?"
If the boyfriend was around the corner, I guarantee you he would have been slipping and sliding down that hill, trying to get to your wallet.
That's a classic way to mug someone. And I was just like, "There's some girl stuck on a wall. I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah, that's a very...
It's like the best scam ever, I guess.
That's like a... Rice cooker just finished.
Yeah, dinner's ready. We can hear the sound.
It plays a song when it finishes. I'm seeing if the postcards that I was going to send out for Glasgow, I have my brain's all messed up on postcards. But I think that, you remember Shermanka? How did you feel about that?
Shermanka. I'm really glad we went. That was the museum with all of like the robots and stuff that were made by the Russian guy. I mean, I'm just going to basically be repeating what I'd said in the video.
Oh, yeah. Well, then I'll just say that was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was
a definite standout in what is viewable at a museum that was a museum in itself. And we've had a few like breakout museums, like really
it was like
outside
an art
of the ordinary thinking, and that's what was
so cool about it. So like right before that, we went into the Glasgow National Museum or whatever it is that has the statue with the guy with the cone on his head, right? And we went in there and we walked through there, and it was a more traditional art museum. And we didn't shoot anything in there because it was like not really that. It was if you're into art, maybe it would have been interesting, but because like we're not really big art people.
What's up with us not being into art?
Well, we did have
people tell me they're into art, and I go, "How do you do that?"
That's funny because in a video that I just edited, the Edinburgh video, we go into an art museum, and there's a little bit of footage from it because it was impressive.
Oh yeah.
But don't get into that too much. But the museum in Glasgow. I mean, it was a museum, and it was all right, but it wasn't remarkable. And then right after that, we went to this like place where this Russian guy had built all these crazy robots and stuff. And robots isn't the right word, but like moving, living sculptures or something like that. And all this music and lighting and stuff had been coordinated with it and stuff. And it was really, really impressive.
Yeah,
And
it was out of the ordinary.
It was a really good find. And we told our friends that are in Glasgow, we're like, you gotta go see this. Like, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, very strange and cool. And you kind of feel awkward standing with a whole bunch of strangers waiting for the next machine.
Yeah, because you're in a group of like 10 people or so.
And you don't know them, and you're all just standing in the dark. It's like going to a haunted house in a way.
And some of them are creepy, like knives and stuff are like coming out and things like that.
I still am freaked out that I just stood there with that cleaver.
Like waving at you. Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. And then the guy that, we didn't get to meet the artist, but a guy that is a major part of the installation or whatever, we hung out with him for a little while afterwards, and he showed us...
Asking lots of questions, and he let us go behind the scenes and look at some stuff.
Yeah, he showed us how, like, the wiring and everything for the lights and everything coordinates.
Which I found fascinating.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, it was really good. I was really impressed with that. What about food? What do you remember?
Definitely the haggis, and... that I think that if you go and you don't have it, it's criminal.
Yeah, and we had venison haggis. I don't think we ever had. Did we in the entire time we were there eat regular like normal?
That's
sheep
the only
haggis?
one that I ate.
Yeah,
because I feel like I didn't see it a whole lot on menus.
I agree. I agree with you. It's like their national dish that everybody knows about, but I think only because it's like a weird thing, you know, so people talk about it.
Yeah.
But when you eat it, like if you didn't know what it was, you'd just be like, oh, it's like sausage or something like that. Like, you know.
And I would definitely eat more of it. And I wouldn't have... There was just so many... I had such a long list of items that you could eat in Scotland.
Yeah, we did.
And it would just take forever.
Yeah.
So
we had the added complication of why we were there. One, not being able to get into the city because our apartment, while it was kind of near Glasgow and technically sort of in Glasgow, it still was not like a walkable distance to the city center.
Yeah, on the bus, 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, so kind of like in like a suburban area. So we didn't have a lot of like easy access to get into town. And then there were places that were closed because of weather, and there were places that were closed. There was this place that I wanted to go to over and over and over. I went there like 5 times.
I forgot about that. There was a restaurant.
They were renovating, and they didn't change the one they were going to open on their sign and stuff like that.
Yeah, there were 2 restaurants we wanted to go. Was it called Nirvana?
Yeah, Nirvana.
There was a Nirvana-themed cafe.
Yeah, really strange. Right?
And then, I guess they're both cafes.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Serenity Now. So a Nirvana-themed one and a Seinfeld-themed.
Like, they really nailed me down.
Yeah, so we really wanted to go to both of those, and we didn't get to go to either of them.
Yeah, but there was just because of the circumstances of everything, there was just hard to get to some of the food. But the Scotland series is actually, I don't know how many videos it'll be, but we shot a lot.
Yeah.
So there will be more things from your list getting checked off as we go along.
And that's another thing about like planning and thinking about what you want to do. You have to have contingencies, and you have to know where those contingencies are, because if we're standing at Nirvana and we really wanted to shoot something today so that, you know, we can have a nice, awesome video, we don't get to go there, so then you instantly have to think about somewhere else to go, and then I'm off on this tangent. Like,
sometimes
okay, well,
that's
now
great.
We're over here.
Sometimes it pushes you into places that like are amazing that you'd never go, but sometimes you're just grumpy and hungry. So, not you, but like
me too.
the collective you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any other food that stuck out. We had a lot of like sweet treats and stuff because we were still doing fika and stuff, and like all the tea cakes and everything. It was cool to get to eat the tea cakes and the chocolate like caramel log that turns out I said it had chocolate when I tasted it, and you were like, it doesn't have chocolate, and then somebody in the video comments said, oh, that thing has actually got chocolate in it. So my taste buds are on fleek, man.
I'm gonna look into that.
Do some research.
Yep.
Caramel log. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but Glasgow was cozy.
Yeah, I would definitely say that it's cozy, and it's very comforting in my head.
I'm so glad we had a good place to stay. If we had been like in a bad accommodation,
That would have been difficult.
It would have been a really hard couple of weeks. But since we lucked out and we landed into a place that was
I'm shocked
really
that we
nice.
shot any video because of how much I wanted to hang out in that apartment. That's terrible, but I mean, that's a good thing.
Let's see. Let's do some questions. Maybe. Marlana had shot us a couple questions. And she asked us these questions while we were traveling, so they're phrased in the way that we're still on our trip. Okay. So just keep that in mind. I'll throw a couple of questions out there. Does traveling for an extended period feel entirely different than it did 9 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, for many, many reasons. One being that we've got a lot more knowledge. We've got a lot more, just experience, I guess, is the only thing
I totally agree with you. Mm-hmm. I think that that's a good thing and a bad thing. I miss being naive in a way.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not geniuses. We don't know everything. But like when we first went around on this trip around the world 9 years ago, it was just like we didn't know how to do anything. Yeah. And there was something about like getting better at it, and you could see yourself improving. That it was just really rewarding.
Let me point out an instance that what comes to my mind is like we didn't know how to do transport 9 years ago, and you know what's interesting? We didn't know how to Uber. We had to learn how to Uber.
We did.
So
the world has changed a little bit.
As our experience gets better with something, technology just throws us figure that out, and so that's interesting.
And and when you think about things like technology and stuff, when we traveled 9 years ago, like smartphones existed, but you couldn't like very well walk down the street holding one. You get robbed. Like not necessarily everywhere, but like we were in like Southeast Asia and stuff, and like some places are a little sketchy, and like people don't have as much money down there. Like you don't know what's around you. Yeah. Nowadays, everybody everywhere is walking around with a smartphone out, so you wouldn't stick out. But if you'd been walking around with like an iPhone in 2009 when we were in when we did this trip, like it wouldn't have been safe. It was, so this didn't exist. So maps didn't exist in your hand. Like we didn't even have phones. We didn't have SIM cards or anything. We didn't have nothing. So just this has altered the experience of traveling drastically.
In a way, I kind of feel like I miss being SIM-less.
Yes.
But at the same time, I don't at all.
I feel both ways about it too. I mean, there's so many just in the time, not those 9 years or whatever, I could talk for hours about the differences in traveling. And like when you remove the practicalities of technology and like Airbnb and booking.com and like all these things like that. I mean, we used to roll into a city and had no idea where we were going to stay. And it was nighttime, and we would just start like going to hotels and like hostels and stuff and being like, what up?
And I just thought to myself,
it seems crazy now.
Has the internet saved me any time on that? Because now what I do, the time that we would be spending going from this one to that one to this one to that one, and trying to figure out which one we wanted to stay at, which is physical time and like motion and going back and forth.
Yeah.
How much time do I spend looking at them on the internet, reading about them, trying to figure out if it's going to make us happy? Because at this point on this trip, we would stay in places for 2 weeks. So I felt that it was worth a considerable amount of research to make sure that, okay, we will want to stay here for 2 weeks.
Yep.
A few nights, like maybe just whatever, put some money on something, but 2-3 weeks and you want something comfortable.
And we also had obligations that we had to maintain. Like you had to keep working on your job. I had to keep getting videos online. So like we had to have a place that was acceptable to that. Yeah. And when you just are just going and randomly looking at places, you might not find a place where you're able to do that. Like there might be something that stops you from being able to accomplish these like responsibilities that we have now that we didn't used to have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a vastly different experience. And then like aside from all of that stuff, we're just older. And I think that we do things a little bit differently. And then
our expectations are different. Like
this trip, our expectations are different, and the way we see the world is differently. I mean, we're it's been a decade. Like we're different people in that sense. And I think that I had another thing that I was gonna mention, but I've lost it now.
I have a lot more confidence about it, and I think that that could be part of experience, but at the same time, like, I have confidence not just in myself, I have confidence in us being able to do it, whereas when we did it the first time, it was kind of like, are we going to be able to deal with this? Like, I know we're going to be able to deal with it.
After a few weeks, though, of traveling the first time, we were fairly confident.
We were stupidly confident.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, without the experience.
But that's fine.
That's like saying, great, I'm going to be perfectly fine in India. But no, now I'm confident in the fact that I know that if you're going somewhere, have precautions. That's part of the confidence.
Yeah, it's a balance.
Yeah.
So I think the other thing, that's a good point too, other thing that makes this trip vastly different is just the destination.
Oh, yeah.
Like, to go to Europe versus Southeast Asia and India and stuff is a vastly different experience than one another. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so incredibly different. Communication is so much easier in Europe, and understanding of things like signs, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not even on the same level. Even when we were in like Italy and Croatia and Greece, where English isn't the native like spoken language, it was still like everybody spoke English. Like, it was very easy in that sense. But when
you pair that with working, that kind of like is a good thing now that I think about it. The ease there allows even more so that you can work and it doesn't feel so overwhelming. I don't know, I just blurted that out. Yeah.
No, I can see that. Like, because you can ask somebody, is the internet here fast?
Yeah.
But like, if you're in like some remote village in Cambodia, you can't exactly, you know what I mean? Like,
and I just mean, like, you're going to expend...
You can't easily just be like...
Needing to work brings about a level of stress that when we didn't work, we didn't have that. So there's an increase in stress for work, but a decrease in stress for the locale. Because of the language and because of the expectations that others around you have a similar expectation that you do.
Yeah.
Whether their bathrooms are great or not. So it evens out in a weird way. Like, you're bringing in this stress, but the location is bringing down a bit of stress.
Yeah. And however, like, we were talking earlier about how we would just bop into a town and just find a place to stay. I don't know how we would have done it back then if we had been in Europe, because you can do that in Thailand. You can just go into a town and be like, okay, we're going to find a place to stay. In worst case scenario, we have to stay in the most expensive place and it's $30. Like, that's what you're thinking, right? But like, if you do that in Europe, and you're like, okay, well, what if all the cheap places are gone and the most expensive place is $300 a night? Like, that's a realistic issue you have to think about. So like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what we would have done in 2009, 2010 had we gone to super expensive places. I mean, we did come to Japan, and it was expensive. But we still... No, I think we booked ahead a lot.
We booked ahead,
we did. We used the internet when we were here.
I do remember in Sapporo going to...
Yeah, we didn't have a place to stay for some reason.
A hostel-type place that was like one of our first ryokan-type onsen things. And so I remember not being pre-booked for destinations that were expensive. But if we knew it was going to be expensive, such as Tokyo, we booked ahead and we asked for advice, and we got advice, and it was really good.
Yeah,
it got us a discounted price.
Maybe we would have done the same thing when we would have been in Europe or whatever.
But we wouldn't have had as much... so many avenues for finding
Airbnb and Booking.com and like hotels
and I think what we ended up finding in Tokyo was through Japanese friends who just did a little bit of research for us, and that was nice.
Yep, that's what happened.
So it had to go through that filter for us to find a good... It was both on trains and on hotel.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that's a huge change in traveling.
And that's an avenue that you would exploit that maybe we don't even have to exploit anymore, like friends and their ability to find deals and stuff like that. Now I feel like I can find the deals without that, and that kind of shows that the world is getting more accessible in just language in general. Like, I feel like I could find the tickets that we got for the train when we came here before. I could find them. Oh, is that me or is that the internet? I don't know.
Could you find those tickets if you were in Korea where you couldn't read anything?
That's a good... Okay.
That's...
Maybe.
She has an additional question that kind of ties into this, and she had asked, "Did we miss cooking?"
No, I have not cooked since we have been here.
I missed being able to regulate my own diet in Europe.
Oh.
That was difficult.
That was very, very difficult. There were so many times that I either felt incredibly stuffed or extremely starving.
And it's a twofold problem. I think one half of it is, I'm only going to be here for 2 weeks, so I want to try all the local specialties. So you're constantly going out and eating, and you want to constantly eat stuff. Where when we're in Tokyo, of course, there's a lot of things to eat, but like it's easier for us to just be like, oh well, we won't go out and eat like a few times this week because we can eat at home and save money, and then you understand how much you're going to have, and just having the repetition of food, I think, is a bit healthier feeling. And I feel like just like when you're just gobbling down like random things, and like you never know it's going to be this or that, and you can't.
Deep fried Mars bar needs to be eaten now.
Yeah, and I didn't feel that so much that I recall when we were traveling years ago, that I felt physically unwell from that type of like eating, and maybe it was because we're in Asia and the food is different than it is in Europe or whatever. But now that I'm older and stuff, I really value how I feel after I eat, and I had trouble a lot with food that we had in Europe, and I think part of it is just because I wasn't eating at home, and I wasn't like just having simpler meals and stuff. It was always something kind of extravagant or something that's like cooked in a way that my body wasn't used to. So that was difficult. The act of cooking in itself, I hate cooking. So
I don't hate cooking, but I've realized over time that I don't mind doing it, but for me, it's gonna end up being like maybe a once or twice a month type thing. Actually, we did cook. The only meal that we have cooked since we've been back in Japan was banana pancakes to celebrate Emma's birthday. She made me banana pancakes when we were there. So when we had Emma Day, Makiko came over and we made banana pancakes. So we have done one cooking thing.
To be clear, we do cook meals. We cook dinner at home, but we make these things called a steamer. We don't have enough time to get into that. Maybe one day we'll make a video about them.
Yeah, I really do want to make a video
about
that. So
we do eat at home quite a lot, but it's not cooking.
And my breakfast, I make my own oatmeal. It is cooking. I'm putting the ingredients together, but it gets microwaved, so I don't feel like cooking is that. I don't feel like that's cooking. But yeah, once you get a frying pan out, then I feel like that's cooking. And
but the actual act of cooking, like, I don't miss that at all. If I never had to cook again in my entire life, I'd be fine.
I don't even know how happy I am that like my brain has been freed. I know what's going to happen for breakfast. I know what's going to happen for lunch. I know what's going to happen for dinner.
You get decision fatigue too. Like trying to find out like what am I going to eat in this place that I've never been. Like that does start to wear down on you a little bit, even though it's exciting. It turns into a bit of a just like, I just wish I could just go into the kitchen and just make a bowl of cereal. I kind of do feel like that. Yeah. I think that's all, like, that's the question for this. So that was a big question.
The answer is no, we don't really miss cooking, and we haven't really done much cooking other than our standard, very, very regimented cooking situation. And
then also everything is different traveling.
Yes.
Basically everything.
Yeah.
Like we used a lot of the same skills that we had honed when we had traveled before, and we'd traveled in previous ways, but the experience was very different.
Yeah.
It was like you know what I mean? Like I guess that's really what sums it up. But I have just finished editing the Edinburgh video, so that will be coming maybe before they see this. It's possible. I'm not sure when I'm going to have time to get everything uploaded and everything. And then Northern Scotland will be coming. And we listened to a lot of Rage Against the Machine on that car trip. And then we went to a place called the Isle of Skye, which is like the coolest name ever. So that will be coming. And then more.
I don't even think you need to put the "and more" on it. It's coming.
In a video soon, we stay a night in a castle.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I remember. Really, really cool. Nothing's off limits. That's my favorite phrase.
Yeah, that's what they told us.
Nothing's off limits. Yeah. Okay. Well, see you later.